Fort Kent Fire Department has received notice of being given a great award. This is the actual award to be given to honor the volunteers of the Fort Kent Fire Department. Here we are at the Fort Kent Fire Department on November 30, 2015, to recognize a great community achievement. The Fort Kent Fire Department has been given a very prestigious award by the Maine Department of Labor's Workplace Safety and Health Division. The SHAPE Award is given as proof that the fire department has met all safety and health standards for their volunteers. The word SHAPE stands for Safety and Health Award for Public Employees. The award is given only after the department undergoes and passes a very thorough examination by the Workplace Safety and Health Division. The examination includes a review of the department's related injury and health records, the department's training records, an inspection of the department's equipment, and an inspection of the work site. The goal of this examination is to assure that the volunteer firemen work in a safe environment. The town of Fort Kent is proud of this achievement of their volunteer fire department in getting the SHAPE Award. The award is given to very few of the hundreds of municipal and public departments in the state of Maine. Actually, during 2015, less than 10 departments in the entire state have received this award. Congratulations to the Fort Kent Fire Department.
Give me one of those. Let me go in those pockets right by.
This one I like. The nice part is you can't have it on your head. You gotta get on the stage. Represent another one.
You've done this many times.
This is the first time we've done it.
That's our first shot. If you want to talk about the SHAPE program, or anything else.
I actually also know some stuff here. Now that I got the boy, I'll see back pictures. And let me heard the town manager.
Heard the town manager.
Heard the town manager.
I can make some extra copies too.
Sit, stand, do whatever. Council said whatever you do, or they can, the council can sit, you guys can stand around. Council.
You did that a little bit work. You just sit here. Somehow I don't believe that.
No crowd too much.
I don't see
Set up a little differently here because we're. Don, come on. Assistant chief show up. That was it. He didn't show him.
Our assistant chief's in an in-service training with the ambulance tonight, so he wishes he could be here.
Training. Okay.
That's also one of our reporters.
Okay. All right, might as well dig in, if that's all right. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike LaPlante. Yes, I do have relatives down the road. I don't know them, but I'm the basically the Occupational Safety and Health Program Manager for Maine Department of Labor. So we do the public sector consultations, but we also do public sector enforcement. I just want to share a little bit about this program, let you know how we got here. Maine Department of Labor enforces all the federal safety and health standards, the OSHA standards. Since OSHA handles the private employers, Maine Department of Labor, my job, is to follow all those same standards and a few more on the cities and towns, county government, state government, water districts, sewer districts, and all that stuff. Our primary job is fatality investigations, hospitalizations, amputations, complaints. When we're not doing those, as you know, we show up and do the famous annual annual inspect. Hugely popular program, I understand, but that's what the law requires us to do, and that's what we do. Give you a little bit of background, which is I don't normally do this. Got 35 years in the fire service as of tomorrow.
Congratulations.
He was the guy. Well, yeah, well, depends on. A lot of people say that's why we're here today. But he was the reason that I got on. He left my fire department in 1980 to go to BIW as a fire guard. He'd been on with Gardner and Farmington, warm body, and I was at warm body. And I'm an assistant chief myself. I'm going to turn my phone on as well. So the federal OSHA side, which has all the private employers, has a program called SHARP, Safety
And Health Achievement Recognition Program.
SHARP program. So they do same basic thing. You find an employee that's doing a great job, going out of the way to provide a safe and healthful workplace, which is a requirement under the law, and has been so since 1971. They have this awards program for private employers. Our previous boss, Steve's predecessor, said, geez, we ought to do this for the public sector. Come up with a program whenever we go to a place and we find somebody that's doing a great job, may not be perfect, but doing a great job, and the inspectors will call up and say, geez, I was just in here, and boy, they're a candidate for getting into this program. So the boss started the SHAPE program, the Safety and Health Awards for public employers. So when we don't give these things out easily. The SHAPE Award was started in 2005, and it starts with somebody applying, sending us their injury logs for 5 years, a summary of hours worked. We look at your injury data and compare it to the other fire departments in the state of Maine. So you have to be at or below that injury data, injury average, number one. And you do a survey asking about your training records. This explains a little bit about it. We look at written programs, we look at training records, we look at equipment inspections, we do a facility walk. If your numbers are low and your survey looks good, we send somebody up to do a walkthrough at your convenience. Which we did. Mary Matthews is our SHAPE person in the state. This program, if you don't find that much, we give you a chance to fix things up, which we did in this case, and it didn't take long, and which basically got us here today. To date, I believe, we've had people get in the program and get out because they, think once they're in, that's it, they don't have to do anything, but it's a constant keeping on top of it. It's all about keeping people safe. That's all it is. So sometimes when you're mad at the chief, he's just looking to protect you guys. Not that you're really mad at the chief. But. So I think right now, today makes 62, I believe, at last count. Like I said, some get in and some get out, but the press release probably say something like that. So in 5 years, it's 10 years, in 2005, we've only had 62 employees. Now there's 454 fire departments in the state. But you think about all the water districts, cops, the school districts, and all that stuff. We don't give it out too often. In fact, not everybody gets it. Some people are disappointed, but anyway, that's what gets us here today. There's some extras for you. Chief's already got one. That's for you. Make copies for the council, whatever you want to do.
Yep, thank you.
So, I'm going to turn it over to Steve. So
Okay.
the camera.
Okay, well, Mike always steals a little bit of my thunder.
That's because you let him go first.
That's right. We're going to stop doing that. But it's with great pleasure that the Maine Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Standards, presents the Fort Kent Fire and Rescue with the Safety and Health Award for Public Employers, SHAPE. The SHAPE Award was originally conceived in 2005, as Mike mentioned, to recognize public sector employees employers and employees striving to provide a safe and helpful workplace. The award is only given to exemplary public sector employers after a thorough review. That review would include looking at your OSHA 300 injury illness logs, looking at your safety and health procedures and programs, review of your employee training programs, an inspection of the facility, an inspection of your equipment, and a review of the employer's documentation and record keeping. We also take a look as far as your injury rates, that type of thing. A well-rounded safety and health program achieves lower employee injuries and illnesses, provides a better employee morale and retention. Receiving this award from the Maine Department of Labor exempts the Fort Kent Fire and Rescue from a Bureau of Labor Standards routine program inspection. So basically, as Mike mentioned earlier about knocking on the door saying we're here to inspect, that's no longer going to happen to the fire and rescue because you're now SHAPE certified. Now, the exception would be if there was a complaint or a serious accident, but as far as actually showing up saying, you know, I'm here to do that program inspection, you know, your numbers up, that type of thing, that's no longer going to happen with fire and rescue. So it's now with great pleasure, Chief, on behalf of Governor LePage and Commissioner Paquette, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And this award's for 2 years. As you see, it's for 2015 2017. I always feel like when I get to this point, I feel, well, congratulations, but I feel like I'm reneging a little bit because all that hard work you've done, these plates down here are the renewal plates. So congratulations, rejoice tonight, but the work's just beginning because we expect to be back here in 2 years with a plate to put on the bottom. So congratulations, but your work's just beginning.
We will be ready. I'd just like to thank all the firefighters who support me, and the town council and the town manager who really support the fire department. And they're all part of this. It's a group effort.
Well, again, congratulations. We know how much work goes into it, so very good.
Thank you.
Would you take a few pictures?
I'd be happy to. You folks have any questions at all about the program? We'd like to eventually move the whole town that way, if we can.
I do have a question about that.
I'm not going to answer it.
I'll wait afterwards.
We'll do it afterwards here. Hey, how about the plaque again?
And one of the things with the plaque, this is, you guys are actually the first recipient of the new SHAPE plaque.
Nice.
The Maine Department of Labor became a state plan state on August 5th, which what that basically means for the most part is now OSHA is basically funding some of our public sector enforcement. And there's about 26 states that are state plan. We're public sector only. There's only 6 that are public sector only. And but like I said, OSHA will fund up to 50% of our program and stuff, so it was worth the effort to become a state plan state. But that plaque actually mimics the sharp plaque that we give to the private sector now. So instead of the U.S. Department of Labor, it's the Maine Department of Labor. But like I said, it looks very, very similar to what sharp gets.
Oh, great. I appreciate you coming all the way up north to see us.
Oh, yeah.
I hope you're visiting somebody else while you're there, giving them a thrill. I got the flag now, I can make a joke.
For 2 years.
This is the good part of the job. We actually can do something positive because we recognize a department that's actually doing something. And we do run into them, and that's why we're here. Yes, we're going to a couple other places tomorrow. It might not be as good.
You have work to do.
Yes, we have work. We want to get everybody to a place. It'd be nice if we could work ourselves right out of a job, but it's not going to happen. But if you talk with your insurance company, and we can somehow, some way, get you to the whole town, you could enjoy. Though we're not speaking for Maine Municipal, but you could enjoy discount on insurance if the whole town gets into the SHAPE program. I think it's 3% right now, which isn't a lot, maybe it is for you, I don't know.
Every penny counts.
So, but you gotta do these things anyway, so it's almost a no-brainer. But we'll talk about that in a sec. So, questions at all?
How many fire departments? You mentioned 62 municipalities.
Oh, usually I have to start writing them down.
I will tell you that when we first started this, it was the fire service that took the lead as far as getting into it. Actually, the first recipient of the program was United Technologies, the Tech High School in Bangor.
Oh, yeah.
And but then shortly thereafter was a fire department.
Mary
And-
mentioned 27.
I think it's probably 28 fire departments, and I do want to preface, not because we are pro-fire, but fire departments, it's tougher for a fire department to do this only because, it's not because they're better or worse, the cops are better or worse, there's more stuff to look at in a fire department because they have more heads, you guys all know this anyway. You know, they go out the door and they go by and say, oh, the fire department's going somewhere, and they go back and watch everything up and go back to work. But the fire departments traditionally, by and large, have more hazards than all other town entities put together. And so it's especially important to us, being firemen, and knowing what you have to go through, that when you give a fire department award, it's deserved. Not that your public works isn't good or your police isn't good or anything like that, but there's just more hazards to look at for the fire department. You guys just don't think about it that way.
Yeah, the thing that helped the fire service though, when they first, the program first started, was that you do have a lot of SOPs and that type of thing already in place.
Yeah.
So that your public works might not have had that. Of course, one thing that was probably more of a challenge for the fire service is you have a lot more that are part-time, call firefighters, that type of thing, which again, sometimes training is an issue, getting the person there because they're working 2 other jobs or something, and so it's, so that's its challenges.
One of the things that I recognized right away was that this gave us a benchmark. We said, we have to be at this level. We could have read the laws and looked at your website and researched all, said, well, we should be doing this or that, the other thing. This told us this is what you have to do, and you have to be at this level. So now we had a goal, and we were able to reach it, but at least we had something to shoot for.
But remember, Chief, that bar, look at it as like
a minimum.
it's a C.
Yeah.
We can strive for the
Oh,
end.
yes, we don't stop there.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've got a best practice that you can do that's, above and beyond, we're going to encourage you.
Well, that's my job, is to keep these guys safe, not just at fires, but around the station, traveling back and forth and everything else. And, but this allows us to incorporate into our training some of these procedures that we might not have had before.
So, great job.
Okay, congratulations, everyone.
Just everyone up here.
She's not ready for you to get up.
You're gonna sit back down, Brazil.
You got somebody that wants some pictures, so. Because you recognize the advantage. Then, what we hope is that you can't see me anyway. Oh, jeez. All right. I don't really think I need to be in this picture.
No, I get it. Came all the way up here.
Absolutely.
Good work, man. Thank you. It's a long ride to time, I'll tell you.
Everybody please look over here. Try not to notice.
And don't shake her hand, by the way.
Yeah, don't shake my hand. I have pink eye. It's awful. But think of how proud you are. Thank you very much.
Jess, you're not welcome here tomorrow.
I know, I didn't come today. Stay home.
So don't set to call our communications
set?
person. She'll work with her on a press release tomorrow. And I think I already gave you her number anyway.
Yes, I do have it.
Julie Rabinowitz, so. Good. Again?
Could I have your name, please?
Stephen Greeley, Greeley, and I'm the Director of Workplace Safety and Health for the Maine Department of Labor.
So you work out of which?
I work out of Augusta, yes, but we cover the whole state.
And now, in this case, you're here.
But Steve, you're from the Augusta area.
Yes.
And so is this, I mean, what is this award all about? How did it come about in the first place?
Well, it's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, has been in effect since 1970. And their role is to protect the working men and women in the United States. And the Maine Department of Labor handles public sector as far as from an enforcement standpoint of the safety and health regulations. We have the Safety Works program, which is a consultation service which covers public and private, but we are an enforcement arm as far as public sector workplace safety and health laws. And basically the mission is to provide a safe and healthful workplace for, like I said, the working men and women of the state of Maine.
So actually, you go beyond just fire departments. I mean, you cover other.
We cover state, county, municipal, your quasi-municipal, University of Maine system, community college system, Maine Turnpike Authority, your sewer water districts.
So you cover that. So basically, what happens? I mean, how does one qualify for this award?
They put in a request. We assign it to one of our consultants that goes out and does an evaluation of the site, whether it's a fire department, whether it's a whole town, and basically it's a safety and health consultation visit. They have to fix whatever the consultant finds, and she'll also, because we use Mary Matthews as our one that primarily does these for the SHAPE program. And she'll also take a look at the OSHA 300 logs, take a look at the injury illnesses that the town's having or the fire department's having, and that way they're, see what the trends are. Is there anything we can help them as far as, reducing those injuries? But also from the standpoint, if they're having a high number of injuries, then obviously they're probably not ready for SHAPE. But, once we can, work with them, get those numbers down, then we can submit them into the program.
So actually, the department or the town makes the request.
Yes.
The request to be evaluated. So it's what incentive does the town get for asking for this evaluation? I mean, short of protecting their employees. Protecting
their employees. I mean, from a morale standpoint, I mean, there's a lot of buy-in by the employees. And the employer wants to do a good job. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Nobody wants to get hurt. But also from the standpoint that if you are a SHAPE recipient, we actually exempt you from program inspections. That's not to say that if there was a complaint or a serious accident, we're going to go in on those particular items. But we're not going to show up unannounced as we normally would for a program inspection. It's your time. You showed up on the list. It's time for us to do the inspection. Those are going away because you're working with us from a consultation standpoint, and we know you're not the problem. You have your programs in place. You're not having the injuries. You're doing the training. Our time can be better spent, elsewhere where someone's not as successful as that SHAPE recipient.
Now, when you go in an inspection, like in this case, I mean, they made a request. The town of Fort Kent was the Fort Kent Fire Department, I believe, that made the request.
Yes.
They make it to you. You come in. What do you look for?
Well, it depends. Obviously, depending on whether it's public works, police department, fire department. But with the fire department, we're looking at the written programs such as respiratory protection, bloodborne pathogens, things that they would commonly, they're at a motor vehicle accident or they're, at a fire scene, they're putting on a respirator. They have to have those programs in place. We're looking at fit testing records, medical evals. We're looking at facility stuff such as air packs. Are they doing their inspections? We're looking, at the injury illness logs, making sure that, again, they're not having, a high number of injuries. What are they having for injuries and so on?
Now, so you go through the whole facility itself, I mean, the whole fire station.
Yes. And we actually, I'm going to say probably and that's probably close to 10 years ago, we actually came out with some compliance directives that basically took a 2-inch OSHA book and narrowed it down to 3 or 4 pages, what we most commonly cite. So that would have your facility inspection stuff, it would have your training records and so on. So if there's someone out there that, isn't quite ready to, call us and ask for a shape inspection or just a consultation, visit in general, they can always go to our webpage and pull up those compliance directives and use that as a guideline to see, whereabouts, how do I measure up as far as what's expected. Now, obviously, it's not all conclusive because we took a 2-inch manual and put it into 4 pages, but again, it still covers the stuff that the majority of things that we cite. And we have those for police, public works, the town office, just about anything, public educational facilities, just about anything that we would inspect, we have a compliance directive for.
And what about, what benefits does the fire department? I mean, short of not having to be inspected for 2 years.
Yeah.
But what do they, is there some kind of breaks on insurance or even town insurance for that?
Yeah, it depends on who they have, but some insurance carriers do give a discount. I don't want to get into names of insurance companies, but I know of one in particular that if the whole town goes shape, they actually give a 3% discount for workers' comp.
So there's incentive not only for the department, but for the town itself?
Yes, very much so.
Well, thank you very much. This is very good, and congratulations to this fire department.
Yes, there's a lot of work.
They're a good group of people. They're hard workers.
Yeah.
And they do a good job in the community, and certainly are responsive to the people in this area.
Yes. Yeah, it's a tough job, and a lot of training, a lot of hazards that that you don't run into in your normal 9-to-5 job. And so yes, kudos to them.
And especially it's an all volunteer.
Yes.
We take it for granted. You assume that a fireman gets some kind of compensation. I mean, they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
And that gives its own challenges to the officers, because you have someone that they've worked all day, and all of a sudden you're trying to get them to come over for a training session, and so it does have its unique challenges.
Well, I was thinking. You have a fire in the middle of the day, and these people are working. I mean, the employer is also involved in this whole support, I guess, for the firemen. They leave their employment and they run down to the fire.
Yeah. Middle of the night, getting out of bed to get into a cold car.
Since we're just at Thanksgiving.
Yes.
My thought was sitting down at the dinner table, just getting ready to have dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, and the fire alarm goes off, and you just leave your family there, the whole thing.
Yes.
You just go out to fight a fire.
Yes.
There's a lot of credit that needs.
We don't give enough credit.
No, we don't. But thank you.
Yes,
The
thank
award
you.
certainly makes it. Certainly shows support from the state for the work that they do.
I have a great job, and this is my favorite part of it.
Well, I'm sure it is. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We do. There's a procedure for everything, and if we stay and follow the procedures, then the men and the firefighters should be safe.
So you were saying earlier that it's your job to keep the men safe. And what does that mean to you? Why is it important?
Well, I'm the boss, so when I'm watching the firefighters work at a fire around the station, if I see something that they're doing that they shouldn't be doing, or maybe they don't realize that something's going to happen to them, then I can put a stop to it. We also have a department safety officer who can fill that role, because when I'm running a fire, I have a lot of things to do and a lot of things on my mind.
Yeah.
But my first and foremost concern is the safety of my firefighters.
You guys have, you've never lost a firefighter, hey, at the Fort Kent?
Not here in the line of duty, no.
That's a good sign, right?
Yes, it is.
Means you're doing something right.
And my predecessors did something right,
Yeah,
so.
so I was just gonna ask you, is how many years have you been, I don't remember.
Have I been a firefighter?
Yeah, that and the different roles, like how many years have you been the chief and how many years have you been a
Well, I've been in several different fire departments, both here and in Connecticut. I retired from the Hartford, Connecticut Fire Department.
Oh, yeah.
yes. And I was assistant chief in Hartford, and I was a volunteer fire chief in Windsor, Connecticut. And then when I moved up here, I really wasn't even going to join the fire department, but the guys talked me into it, some of the firemen that I knew. So I joined, and I'm very glad I did.
I think we're glad you did too. Why did you move up here? Like what?
Well, I came up here originally in 1995 to go snowmobiling. And I kept coming back because I like the area and the people.
That is so awesome. So you're not from here?
No, and I don't have any relatives here, and
Oh.
is that thing running? Okay, well, you can edit this out, but I got divorced and I wanted to leave Connecticut, so.
That's funny because I'm in the opposite situation. I moved here to be with the person I married.
Oh.
And then he left me, and now I'm stuck. So
Oh.
edit that out. Edit that out.
you would. Yes.
But I'm also like kind of like I'm the opposite because you want to be here. It's not that I don't want to be here, but I obviously wouldn't have stayed here after the divorce if it wasn't for my children. You know what I mean? Because to them, this is home. They were born here. And I have to say, I feel very safe. It's probably the safest I've ever felt living anywhere.
Very nice.
It is a nice place to live,
If I run outside,
notwithstanding the weather,
that I
which is
agree
about to
with.
change in a couple of days.
Is it?
I'm sure that was a big change for you, right? I mean, coming in from, especially the
Well, we had
Connecticut
snow in
areas.
Connecticut, but not like we get here.
Not like here.
No, no.
But you came here to snowmobile.
That's
so
right.
I
So,
thought that
and
was
now, guess what? I don't even have a snowmobile.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Now, these are all volunteers, right?
Yes.
Now, this is
They're paid on a per-call basis. So technically, by the state law, they are what is called paid call firefighters. But they only get paid for going to fires. They don't get paid for the hundreds of hours they each put in for training, maintaining equipment, the fire station, and all that. And for instance, this weekend, a number of us are going to a training that's going to be all day Saturday and all day Sunday. And there's no pay for that. That's all volunteering.
Has the way you fight fires changed over time?
It has, to some degree. The equipment has improved. The biggest improvement in my career, and I've been at this for over 50 years, that the self-contained breathing apparatus, the Scott Air Pact. Before, when I started, we used to go into buildings full of smoke and everything. We didn't have any protection at all. And it was really rough. The first thing you did was look for a window so you could get a breath of air, break the window and take a puff and then go back into the smoke. Now with the breathing, of course, that's not good for us. We all know that now. But at that time, that was accepted practice by firefighters. And now it's required that by the OSHA that if you're going into a hazardous atmosphere that you do have breathing protection. So we require that as well here.
Have some of the materials changed over time? I mean,
Yes,
certainly there's plastics
there are
and all
more
kinds of
synthetic
chemicals.
things, and
Yeah.
building construction has changed too. Fortunately here, most of the buildings are older farmhouses and are really built very well. They're not going to fall down on you, but the newer construction with trusses and the methods that the trusses are assembled and fastened, it doesn't take long for a fire to eat away at that, and then you have no structural integrity and the building can collapse. So if we're in there and it collapses, obviously that's not a good thing.
Right.
We're going to go in, if there's people in the building, we're going to go get them, unless it's impossible, unless we know for a fact 100% that they can't be alive. But if we think there's any chance that they're survived in there, we're going to go in and get them.
Yeah, there's a whole science to firefighting.
Yes, and the tools have improved. The fire trucks are better now. We're using a thing in Fort Kent that's used all across the country, but it's called compressed air foam, and it makes the efficiency of the water a lot better. It's like adding an extinguishing agent to the water. It really makes the water penetrate things better and leaves a little blanket on so the fire doesn't start up again right away. If you use water, the water can evaporate and the thing will flare up again. Now that's not good for huge fires because we just can't put it on there quick enough and we'd be wasting it because it is fairly expensive stuff. But we're getting a new pumper in a couple of weeks to replace a 30-year-old one, and that will have that system on it. And one of the pumpers we currently have has that system on it. So
What's a pumper?
we're doing very well.
Sorry, what's a pumper? Is that like a truck?
A pumper is an engine. That's the one that carries hose and water and does the pumping and actually puts the water into the hoses that we put on the fire. And then we have a ladder truck, which is, it helps us gain access to higher points. We use it a lot here for chimney fires. It also carries a bigger complement of ground ladders, portable ladders, so that we can put up ladders on the building.
Okay.
It's designed to carry those.
So what's the difference? What's the rescue then?
The rescue truck carries our extrication and specialized rescue
Oh,
equipment.
okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay, I never
just
knew
like
that.
they sound. They all have
All
a,
right.
They all have a purpose?
yes.
How many members on
We
the Fort Kent
usually
Fire?
run around 30 members in Fort Kent.
30?
Yes,
All volunteers?
yes. I'm the only one, I get a small stipend from the town to do the administrative duties, which I spend quite a bit of time doing.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'm sure there's so much paperwork. I mean, there's
Yeah.
paperwork with everything. I'm
So
assuming it's the same thing.
this generated a lot right here.
Yeah, I'm sure it
This
did.
Same thing, yes, it did.
Yeah, it's hard to understand, I guess, the dedication that you have to be a
Well, there is, and it's,
to
you
be
know,
a fireman.
when we have a prospective member come in for an interview before they get hired, and they're actually appointed by the town council, we do an interview and we explain to them that this means giving up a lot of your private time, your spare time, your family time. We tell them, of course, your family comes first, and your job, of course, is right up there as well, but you still have to be able to dedicate some time to us. So once a week on Wednesdays, we have training and work details, we call it, where we go all through all the equipment and check it, and if it's been used at a fire or otherwise and needs a little bit of special treatment, then that's when we do it. And this Wednesday we'll be washing hose because we had a fire over the weekend, or actually not over the weekend, just the day before Thanksgiving, the night before Thanksgiving.
And one today?
If somebody wants to be a fireman in Fort Kent, what do they do? How do they go about
Well, the
it?
official process is to come and take a regular employment application from the town office here. And then then it's given to us, and then we set up an interview. The thing is, unless somebody has some specific certifications or training, we normally don't do that until we have a class ready to be set up, because before anybody can be a firefighter and go into a burning building, they have to be qualified or certified as a firefighter 1 and 2. We just did a class last summer. It ended up in the fall, was the end test, and we had 9 from Fort Kent go through it. So we won't be doing one for a while. However, we have just added a couple of people who came from other parts of the state that already had that certification. So that's good. We're always glad to, actually one of them was from St. Francis and moved downstate for a while and got all the certification and came back.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you on behalf of the public.
Well,
The public at
I'm
large,
glad to do
for
it.
all that you do for the residents in Fort Kent. And it's not just Fort Kent, because you serve other...
We also serve St. John, Wallagrass, and New Canada by contract, because they don't have the
Right.
ability to have their own fire departments. It
Right.
takes a lot to keep a fire department funded and running. It's not
Yes,
just
it
like
does.
we'll buy a fire truck and we have a fire department. That doesn't work. So,
Thank you.
okay.
I appreciate
All right,
it.
Don. Nice to see you.
Enjoy.
All right.
I was just gonna say, just hit the lights on your.
Thank you to the Maine Department of Labor for recognizing the many achievements by the Fort Kent Fire Department. Thank you to the town of Fort Kent for having such a professional and responsive fire department. Congratulations to Fort Kent Fire Chief Edward Endy and all of the volunteer firemen in earning this SHAPE Award. A very special thank you to the dedicated volunteers that make up the Fort Kent Firemen. We all appreciate the dangerous work and service that you do for all of us. But also thank you to the employers that allow these volunteers to leave at a moment's notice to respond to a fire. And finally, a big thank you to the families, the spouses, the children, and the parents of these dedicated volunteer firemen for allowing them the time so they can train, maintain their equipment, and respond to our 911 calls.